So Vikram, take me back to the start of your journey. Well, actually, just before you started, what did you see and feel in the mirror?
Akash, I've been, I sort of pride myself in being sort of an athlete and trying to be very fit and active. I've done Tough Mudders, Spartan races. I've worked out since the age of 18 pretty consistently, but I never had the body that I was really sort of proud of, or just I didn't have the physique that I thought I deserved. And even though I've studied it in a scientific basis as a cardiologist, and I've studied it even more as an integrative doctor and a functional medicine doctor, application and consistency was lacking, even though I'm a coach and I help others do that. And
Why do you,
so it was really powerful what I learned.
why do you think that was the case?
Sometimes the teachers are poor students. And I think a framework is important, to having a very consistent framework. And, as human beings, we crave what we call variety and spice and changing things up. But really, you need a certain amount of time doing the same thing with just tiny iterations that will lead to that explosive result down the end. But we're not patient enough to do that. And the quickest way to say this, Akash, is this, and this is what I tell myself: anything I touch turns to gold. The problem is I don't touch anything long enough.
I like that. I like that. Um, so in that moment, you said you felt like you deserved this body. You felt like you deserved this physique. Talk me through what was going on there in your mind. What were you seeing? What were you imagining that Vikram should be looking like, should be feeling like?
I have this image or view of myself as a father. I have an 8 and 10-year-old. I want to be there for them as they become teenagers. I want to like body surf, jump out of an airplane if they want to. I want to, swim in the oceans, basically do everything. I also feel like there's a concept when I was a kid, Akash, growing up, that really resonated with me. One of my social studies teachers told me, like, hey, there's these people in the Italian 1400s that they were good at physical training. They were good at science. They were good at artistic work. And these people were called Renaissance men. I was like, wow, I love that term, the Renaissance man. And I was like, I always wanted to do that. I wanted to be good at multiple things, have multiple passions, and not just be a jack of all trades, but a king of all trades. And so I was like, and all the goals I have in life, I need the ultimate currency, Akash, which is energy. And by having a physique and a body and a routine, that energy is generated to allow me to accomplish all my goals. And so those were all the thoughts I had in my process. Also, I want to like look good and feel good when I look at myself in the mirror, when I wear my clothes. I want to represent. I want the inner health to be in the outer health as well.
Yeah. And you're doing you've achieved a lot over the years in your 20s, 30s, and early 40s. Like, what were you, did you feel like you had that energy in full amount? How were you running your tank, so to speak? If you had this crisis moment of like, I've actually not been operating at capacity, what was life like in the younger days?
If I could be absolutely honest and frank, I'm going to reveal some of my challenges I had. One
Go
of
on.
was gut issues. Like I really thought, gas, bloating, indigestion, even though I was eating quote unquote what I thought was clean, the problem was I was eating like healthy processed food, and that's still not good enough. And so one of the foundational things I learned in R&T is just eating real food, really clean food. And the other thing I had was I had cholesterol as a history in my family. I had 6 people in my family, Akash, who've died of heart attacks. And that's what actually drove me to become a cardiologist. And despite me doing what I thought was everything, and I'm putting air quotes here if anyone was listening to this, my numbers were not like pristine. They were not great. I'm talking about lab work. And so that's a microcosm of the inner workings of my body. And so then, that's what forced me to learn functional medicine. And now I did improve. I went dramatically better. I'm probably better than 85 to 90% of the people out there, but still there's that 15% gap that despite everything, it was still persisting. And that's what unfolded on that journey with R&T.
Well, can you give some examples of your blood work that you were alarmed by, or you felt
Sure.
like needed
Uh,
improvements?
Right. LDL cholesterol was elevated. Total cholesterol was a little bit elevated. And this is despite me, eliminating foods, being very strict, being careful, working out 5 days a week, cardio, martial arts training, water intake. But I think it was consistency in that diet. I think it was selection, and it was also just combining all the techniques that we know work, and doing that on a consistent level. I've never weighed my food, for example. I've never portioned my food out, and and all these things intellectually were known, but never practiced in precision.
Yeah, yeah. And so what was the ultimate trigger then? You mentioned you had 6 people around you have heart attacks, but that didn't force you to change. That forced you to go down a specific career path, but it didn't force you to change your own sort of health journey. What was
Yeah.
your like big bang moment where you think, and this needs to change now? Like I can't do this anymore.
So the trigger to where, like, I've always been looking for, like, I've hired trainers, I've hired all these things, but I wanted a complete system, if you will. I always believe in coaching, Akash. I've had business coaches, I've had coaches in real estate, I've had coaches in martial arts, I've had coaches on how to shift out of cardiology into integrative or functional medicine. No matter what I wanted, I always realized, hey, look, there's someone out there who's already doing this world class. I can compress decades into days and really do this in a quicker way, shorten the learning curve, and achieve those results that those people have in a fraction of time with an investment of money. And so that's always been my concept. And so at some point I was looking for a solution, and then what's more convincing than seeing hundreds of people with their before and afters, and they're not like athletes, they're not top-notch specimens. They're essentially average human beings, and I'm saying average in the sense that there was nothing gifted about them in terms of genetics, but what they achieved was absolutely remarkable. And that got me excited, because I'm like, okay, I've seen before and afters, but these guys are like football players and elite athletes. These guys are like average everyday human beings, just like me, who are moms or dads, they're stockbrokers, they work in a 9-to-5 career, and then they were able to accomplish this. Then I'm like, hey, I can definitely do that. I want to do that. I need to do that.
Yeah. But why then? And I don't know, I'm going to probe on this, but why then? Did you have a specific trigger in your life?
I think it's just, I hit what we call threshold, right? You hit that point where not another day, not another minute, not another moment. I've been putting all this energy, but I didn't see the results of that, of my efforts. And so I wanted the fruits of my labor. So it was really, I'm turning, I'm in my early 40s. It's either now or never, right? I don't want to wait till I'm 45 or 50 or whatever. So I think age, I have free time. Like I've sort of been able to be blessed with creating more space, and with more space, it allows you to then drill down into your passions and double down into your pursuits of how you want your life to unfold. And so health was a top priority for me, because I'm the epitome of it. I'm teaching it. I'm a cardiologist. I'm a functional medicine doctor. I'm a coach, business coach, and success coach. How can I not be the health that I'm telling everyone else to do? So it was also, I didn't want to be a hypocrite, and I wanted to be authentic and congruent and in alignment with my values.
When you kickstarted the journey, how did you find overwriting some of the old habits, especially when it came to nutrition? How did you find getting those structures, strategy, and systems in your day locked in?
I think it's follow the system and don't vary it, right? So the more strict a system is, the more you sort of surrender to it. And that surrendering is really what I think helped me achieve my goals and achieve the success. I fought it initially, just like everyone fights it, because habits are sometimes hard to kill. Yeah. But you got to overwrite them, like you said. It's almost like reformatting the hard drive. And so those grooves of a consistent pattern, I had to like sort of take a rock and sort of scrub out and then rewrite the new pattern. And it took 4 or 5 weeks, but then I was like, oh, I actually enjoy this. I love eating the same food every day. There's something called decision fatigue, Akash, which you talk about. That decision fatigue was gone. Now I'm like, I don't have to think about my workouts. I don't have to think about my everything is all set. I just have to just execute. And execution, is worship. So by executing, I was able to then start making progress. And then once you start seeing the progress, because what you measure, what you improve, you guys forced us to take pictures of ourselves, weigh ourselves, put into a spreadsheet. So then I'm like, damn, I'm making progress here. This is good.
Yeah, it's crazy what looking at yourself and taking a picture of yourself every week does to you.
So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was so simplistic that it was like, is this going to work? Maybe they're missing something. Maybe I need to help them out. I need to maybe reach out to them and say, hey, look, let's do this and this. But it was really, I think the buzzword, Akash, is surrender.
I love it. When it comes to medical profession, now you mentioned you're a cardiologist, functional medicine practitioner, integrative medicine. You're obviously around a lot of doctors, but it's always this irony of that doctors tend to not put their own health or have the right understanding around their health that they should be in terms, especially when it comes to body composition, their nutrition, etc. On reflection now, what do you feel has been the biggest missing piece for doctors, and what would you like to see change for doctors to be learning at an earlier stage so that they can be pioneers in this?
Yeah, it's a great question, Akash. I'll have to think about that. But what's appearing to be missing is really the education that they're not seeing in this form of sort of a wellness or health. Most doctors are taught there's a relative homeostasis, and there's a broad range of that homeostasis or equilibrium that people are in. As long as they're in that broad range of quote unquote not sick, that's a checkbox and a check mark, even for themselves. And it's only when things start breaking down is reactive approach of trying to go back to this sort of watered down equilibrium warranted. They neglect the fact that in reality, this is not good enough. This baseline where they are is okay, but it's like operating at 65% capacity, and realizing that they could, if they did certain things, they can get to that extra 35%. And this is hormonal. They don't realize these strategies, which you implement in your system, actually balance hormones. They actually reset your adrenal glands. They improve growth hormone production. Their neurotransmitters improve. Body composition is basically telling them, hey, look, you have excess fat production. That's probably due to insulin buildup, right? Insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, inflammation. And in a way, your program is almost the ultimate functional medicine program, hidden or disguised as a workout transformation program. So I've actually had some of these programs that I've helped institute in many folks in my clinic, the Vitology Institute, and they've had tremendous success. And it was, I just love the fact that you guys are doing it not just for people who are sick or well, but you're doing it for people who want to go to that next level. So it's almost like combining biohacking plus functional medicine. I think that's sort of the underlying DNA of your program.
Why do you think the medical fields are resistant to implementing changes like this into becoming more proactive, into be more proactive with themselves, not just accepting, yeah, I'm not sick, so I don't need to do anything about it?
Time, lack of education, incentive. Can it really happen to me, or I'm not that bad off? I would say those are the five reasons.
Yeah. So barometers are pretty low then, right? For not being sick.
Right. So you have your S's, right? So system, structure, and I think there's one more. Strategy, right? I think there's one more S that needs to be added to that system, and it's the standards. Who you surround yourself with is who you become, right? So if I'm hanging out with Akash, who's a bodybuilder in the UK, I'm hanging out with Ed, who's can deadlift my car. My reference point is a lot higher, right? Compared to I'm hanging out with some friends, and then they jump rope for about 20 minutes, they do some Peloton for 10 minutes, and then they're done for the week, right? It's a different level. So I think what the human body is capable of, and what we push ourselves to, there's that such a gap. And so we really have to expect more out of ourselves, about our bodies, our energies, our physique, our capabilities, our goals in life. And the more you push that limit, that threshold, more will come out of it.
Is that what you're trying to do with Limitless MD?
Absolutely. Yeah. My goal is to help coach extraordinary people into the next level of greatness. Like, I want to coach doctors, high performers, business folks, entrepreneurs, and say they're doing good, but then there's several levels above good, right? There's great, there's excellent, and there's extraordinary, and there's outstanding. And so those levels is where my goal is to push people, and not push, but help them. They want to be pushed. They're compelled to go there, but maybe they need the 2 millimeter shift to get there.
What do you see as the biggest common resistance in taking that 2 millimeter shift?
It's clarity and confidence, knowing exactly where they want to go. Right? Many of us, if we know, I think you help us define our goals when we join R&T. Right? We're like, hey, look, I want to have this % body fat. I want to do this. The how of getting there is up to you guys, but where we want to go, you guys help us with. So again, these people, if they're a successful physician, they have a healthy family life, and they're doing quite well, but there's still something missing, whether it's time freedom or financial freedom or health or vitality freedom or freedom from stress, or just freedom to live like a full and exciting and thrilling life. Maybe their life is boring. Whatever that is, it's trying to figure out where they want to go and creating the path there, and then creating a massive plan, action plan, just to get there. Where
do you want to go now? Now that you've got the body that you've wanted for 2 decades, what do you want to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. The goal now is to take it to that next level, right? So I want to add muscular mass and increase my strength and performance, but I also want to get flexibility. I don't want to be the guy who's like 55 and bends down to pick up a pencil and then he throws out his back, right? So I think flexibility is youth. And when I've, like yoga and martial arts and any of that kind of thing, paired with strength training and then throwing in some cardio, that's the triumvirate of, I think, ultimate health. And then if I had to have a fourth component, it'd be the mindset, right? I've been doing things like meditation. There's a new strategy. I've started doing something called Nucalm, which resets your autonomic nervous system. There is, other strategies I'm trying to do, including infrared sauna, PEMF, which is pulse electromagnetic therapies. So the goal is just to, how can I just keep becoming better in all categories, especially health.
What was the second one you mentioned there?
PEMF.
No, the one, sorry, two before that.
Cryotherapy.
One before that? You mentioned four.
Infrared sauna.
Okay, I thought there was one that you said is a new strategy.
Okay. Oh yeah, Nucalm.
That's it, Nucalm. Yeah. Yeah. What's
that?
So
Nucalm. So as I always try to investigate, I've been meditating since 2015, Akash, and varying results. I've tried mantra-based meditations. I've tried guided meditations. I've just tried sitting and doing breath work. Right now, I'm exploring Wim Hof, who is a famous European who's been teaching breathing, cold exposure, and other techniques. But the interesting thing, this Nucalm, it's used by the Washington, the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry. Use some of these strategies to help win their most recent championship. A lot of Major League Baseball players, National Hockey players, top-notch politicians are using it. So it's essentially using binaural beats, which are very complex program to bring you into from beta into alpha into theta and delta within a short amount of time. And it's three things. It's a disc on your left hand that's on one of your meridians that induces something called GABA, GABA, which is a neurotransmitter to stimulate vagal impulse. It also sort of resets your body into going to more of a parasympathetic state or resting and restorative state. And it gets your brain into that delta theta state. And it does it very quickly. And you don't have to think about it. Like in meditation, it's more of an act of, hey, how do I drop myself down into it? This one does it for you. And so it's been very powerful. And how do I know it works? Because I believe in metrics, just like you guys do at R&T, checking everything, right? So I have an Oura ring, which checks HRV, which is heart rate variability. And what we're doing is the more variability you have, that means you're more in balance. Your brake and your accelerator are in balance. Your sympathetic and parasympathetic drive. So if my HRV is going up, then whatever therapy I'm trying, whether it's working out, whether it's sleeping more, whether it's this Nucalm strategy, that's a positive thing for my body. And so since I've been doing this technique, it's gone way up.
What are the data points you're tracking on a regular basis?
Good question. I still believe in some of the old favorites, right? Percent body fat is a huge one. Sleep, an amount of sleep, deep sleep, restful sleep. As I mentioned, HRV. There's something called peak VO2, which is getting on, as you know, on a treadmill or exercise bike and really pushing your body. And as a cardiologist, I used to use peak VO2, and you'll find this humorous, Akash. I used to track peak VO2 in people with heart failure. So when the peak VO2 dropped to less than 20, that was the indication that they would need a new heart. And we'd have to find them either a mechanical heart or get a heart transplant. Now I'm using it on the other end with my elite athletes and my high performers that I coach. Hey, what's our peak VO2 now, and how can we improve that? So I would say peak VO2, HRV, or some of the two biggest parameters in percent body fat. If you had to, those three things.
And how often do you do the peak VO2 for yourself?
I do it every quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on the treadmill? You do on the?
I do it on the treadmill. Yeah. It's one of the local gyms I train at. They have a device that can help record that. So.
For some of the listeners who may be, especially the older folk over 40, they may be worried about potential cardiac issues in the future. They may have a family history of cardiac issues like yourself. What sort of markers should they be more aware of if they're getting blood work done, if they're getting any tests done, or even sort of symptoms? Is there anything to start thinking about, anything to start paying attention to, especially as you get into your 40s and 50s? And
I'd love to share with your listeners some real practical things that they can do like tomorrow that will probably bewilder their practitioner or physician, because normally doctors don't check these things. So I've been able to go about 2 to 3 levels deeper when I check lab work to find the markers that are going to signify problems months to years before they happen. And I'll just give you just a handful. And this is what we do to some of our patients in the Vitology clinic. It's fasting insulin. So no one checks that. Everyone checks, at most they check fasting glucose, but glucose raises later in the game, right? So if you really want to know if you're on the way to becoming insulin resistant or metabolic syndrome, which is a constellation of all the problems that we know that can cause heart attacks and other problems, you want to check fasting insulin and obviously the A1C, which a lot of people have talked about. The problem is with the A1C is people think, hey, if I'm 6.4, then I'm diabetic and I need to worry. But really, if you're above 5.7, that's the cutoff. And I'm using American references here, but it could be something similar in UK. Fasting insulin is another one. Okay, so the other one is HSCRP. That stands for high sensitivity CRP. It's a marker of inflammation in the body. And this one specifically is more for cardiovascular inflammation, but it can be high in other kinds of inflammation as well. I would say less than 3% of the doctors in the world check this marker, but it's a very powerful marker. It's not expensive, and it can provide a ton of data. And I would say maybe if I had to give you one or two more. So a lot of people check, LDL, LDL cholesterol. The problem with that is it's too non-specific. If you wanted to get and to see if are you on the road to developing atherogenesis, which is blockages in your coronary arteries, you want to check LDL particle number. So the number of LDL particles means more than the total amount, and the size. So if they're if the LDL particles are like small BB guns, they can penetrate the size of your vessels and create these little holes that can cause a ton of damage. And if you have a bunch of them that are very small, that's more damaging than those that are large and fluffy. The other way I can think about it is think about a popcorn. If you have popcorn that's large and fluffy, that's safe. But if you have those unpopped kernels of popcorn, that's very damaging. So that LDL particle number is that metric that will help you that.
There's 3 things that you'd say we should start paying attention to.
Yeah. it's inflammation. It's much more in depth about blockage formation and more about insulin. I really think becoming insulin sensitive should be the goal of pretty much every human being on the earth.
Yeah. What are some of the proactive measures that you address there? I mean, into getting more insulin sensitive, probably the best way is actually to get leaner, right?
Right. It's that, I mean, RNT, you don't advertise this at all, and this is not necessarily in your marketing material, but one of the most powerful things you guys do is essentially taking someone, most people are insulin resistant walking around, right? They have too much processed food, too much things, and that gets stored as fat. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. So the more you spike insulin, it makes you store fat. And so the RNT program remarkably does is it unlocks a person's body's own innate insulin homeostasis or rebalancing and makes the body more insulin sensitive. That turns off the insulin signal to store fat, and you actually lose fat, especially in the belly, which reduces your risk for cardiovascular disease, stroke, heart attack, and a host of other things, including Alzheimer's.
I think the caveat there is always that it's a lot of calories. Take it in with it. So
yeah. But it's also the type of calories too.
Right? I think the type, yeah. I mean, but ultimately with fat storage, you need the calorie excess. But of course, with processed foods and ease of calories, it's a lot easier to get those spikes in calories and energy than you would if you were eating, say, fresh fruits, vegetables, and lean meats, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would you advise if let's say someone has some tricky measures when it comes to their CRP or their low density LDLs? What sort of things would you be keeping an eye on to change in behavior?
So one quick test that you can do that's relatively inexpensive that it'll either scare you or reassure you, and then you can start the recovery program is this. There's something called a calcium score. It's a quick little CT scan that'll actually check what your blockages are. And it's non-invasive. You just go through a quick scanner. You get that. Now, if it's high, you're like, oh crap, I need to do something different. Like aggressively, like now.
Yeah.
If it's actually normal, you're like, okay, I dodged the bullet for now, but now I need to go clean it up. So that's a quick thing that, again, many doctors don't use. It's part of their tool belt, but they've forgotten to use it. So it's something you may have to request from your physician. I call it a calcium score. And that really assesses the hard calcifications in your three main coronary arteries in your heart. Now, going back to, hey, what can I do? Well, there are supplements that are important. There are, lifestyle strategies and routines, nutrition, as you well know, fitness strategies. But all of that lifestyle together, along with making sure that you're able to do it by maybe doing some screening or maybe a stress test or maybe some assessment by your physician, along with a more of a proactive lifestyle reversing strategy is a very powerful way.
Yeah, it's definitely a holistic solution. And it's funny how the simple stuff that we do here, it solves a lot of these issues if we just tackle it early enough.
Yeah, I think the behavioral changes you help your clients make, Akash, helps drive their health parameters really to that, anti-aging and sort of disease reversing stages.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give to people potentially at the start of their journey, thinking, what's ahead? They might be feeling a bit overwhelmed with all the different changes they're making in their lifestyle and their behaviors. What's some advice that you'd give on reflection?
People think it's an all or nothing approach. And really, even if you incorporate 60% of what you teach, that's a win. So really just look, the more you can do of the RNT protocol, great. But don't consider yourself, hey, like, I'm not getting any benefit if all I just do is the weight training, or I'm not getting any benefit if all I do is the nutrition. It's really gradually you'll want to do all of it eventually, but give yourself some compassion, some empathy. Think about it this way. You're almost like you're a huge like cruise ship and you're going toward the iceberg, and RNT is like, hey guys, there's an iceberg right there. You need to turn. So you're turning, you're not seeing any results. And you're getting frustrated. So you're like, screw it, I'm just going to stay the course. No, I mean, turn, and eventually you'll see the ship's going to turn, but it takes time. You've been doing something for 45 years. You think Akash and his team are going to turn it around in like 2 weeks? No, it's going to take some time. So patience, compassion, empathy, and stick to the program. And then again, buzzword, surrender.
I'm liking these analogies, Vikram, today. Got
I
a few of
came
them.
ready to rock it with you, brother.
And in terms of your own family, and you know, because family were a big influence for you in doing this, especially your kids. Like, how's it impacted your kids, and what's been the domino effect in your inner circles and community?
Everyone was thinking like, I was like, dude, guys, I'm gonna go try this program. They're like, yeah, right, whatever. And then, I was sort of the guinea pig, right? And now I think you probably have about 25 of my friends or family on your waiting list. So, so they're all geeked out, ready to join because they've seen the results. The problem is they think, oh, if I join the program, it's automatically given. They don't realize that there's a ton of hard work involved. So, but it's really nice to be an example to my friends and family and my surrounding and my kids. They love exercising. They've always loved it, but now they've seen, man, dad is so active, so energetic. I want to be like that. So, we built, because of COVID, we built out this beautiful home gym. We that's one of the most commonly used rooms of our house now. Like, my wife's down there doing
Oh,
some
brilliant.
workouts. My kids, we do Muay Thai, kickboxing together down there. There's a TRX rope that they love to, play around with. So it's become a lifestyle. It's become a family bonding thing. My parents are older. My dad is, mid 70s. My mom is in her late 60s. And, I made sure they have a trainer. I made sure they're like sort of following a lot of these principles. And they're the most active among their friend circle, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, I have a cane, I'm in a wheelchair. I mean, these guys are like, hey, let's go to Greece, let's go to Italy, let's go live life.
That's brilliant. How are you getting the family involved with nutrition at the table? Talk about the dinner table. What are you having all different meals? Is everyone eating the same food? How have you got the kids involved? What sort of hacks have you got for that for the parents listening?
Yeah. The we used to eat, like at the beginning of a program was like essentially like, just chicken and vegetables essentially for me. Well, and now like once I graduated from the what is it, the process phase, and I'm sort of in consolidation, and
CGP,
now
yeah.
and now I'm going to the lean bulking. I actually miss that simplicity, and so we still do a lot of that because it's easy and it's nutritious and it's healthy. And so my wife makes this her name is Mona. She makes these amazing like chicken kebabs. The kids love it. It's sort of a favorite meal. So that a couple of times a week we do that. We're starting to get them into salads. They never used to eat salads before, so they see me eating salads pretty much every day. So they're like, "Oh, can I try some, Dad?" And they're really enjoying it. So overall, they're making healthy choices, and when they choose not to make healthy choices, they understand it and they know that they're sort of like cheating or enjoying themselves, but then they go back to sort of what we consider healthy. They join me in my protein shakes in the morning
Oh wow.
sometimes. It's fun. I make green smoothies for the family 3 times a week, and they've sort of grown up to that. They're used to me on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays having essentially clear out all the vegetables and fruit and just put it in a blender, and then boom, that's their breakfast.
That's fantastic. Was there any resistance from them, or do they take it up quite nicely?
I have to put a lot more fruit when I make
Yeah.
it for them. Otherwise, they're like, it's not happening. So
Yeah, fantastic. So what's next on the horizon in all aspects of your life? How are you going to use the physical as the vehicle?
I notice when I'm stressed, overwhelmed, or maybe not just, sort of centered, that doing a strong workout just recalibrates me. The other thing is obviously the meditation, the mindset, and then journaling. I've been listening to a lot of your podcasts and a lot of your work on how you journal. I find that to be invaluable as we're trying to push the boundaries of what's possible. Sometimes you need to empty your soul into a piece of paper and just sort of piece together what's going on and just question your beliefs. A lot of what holds us back, Akash, is limiting beliefs. And so just questioning my own beliefs: is it true? How is there another way? And just it's been very cathartic and very helpful. But also having mentors like you, Akash, like my other coaches and other people, it's just like keep striving, and keep trying to make an impact, have a healthy income, and just live a powerful life. And like, for example, we because of the situation in India, we've been raising a lot of money for the COVID relief for getting oxygen concentrators and rebreathers to India. So things like that, they inspire me to like work harder in whatever I'm trying to do.
Awesome. You mentioned you use journaling to kind of figure out limiting beliefs. That what's some of the things that have come up for you recently that you've identified?
Is it worth it? What's this all about? You know,
Yeah.
am I doing too much? Or am I giving not enough to my family? Those kind of things can sometimes come up.
What sort of answers you got? Because there's I get those questions. They come up in my head sometimes. Is it all, what's it all about?
If you're selfish or you're doing this just for like fame or significance or just a paycheck, it's definitely not worth it. But if you think there's a greater purpose to what you're doing, then you're driven almost. You're compelled to do things, and so that's how I feel a lot of times. I feel like there's a mission. It's a mission driven and value driven versus significance driven, and I think that's what drives both of us probably.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
it's interesting. I think it's interesting that you picked up on journey. I really like how you said it's like emptying the soul to kind of figure out what's going on and try and make sense of it to try and move forward. Is that something you only recently picked up, or have you always been a big fan of it?
I've had like sort of. There's different ways to journal, right? So there's like these, I have this 5-minute journal from this company called Intelligent Change, and then there's something called the Productivity Planner, which are more prompts and hey, look, fill in these blanks, and you sort of just do things. But then there's like the get a moleskin that's completely blank. You get your green tea in the morning, right, or some kind of like drink, and you're just writing, and that's been relatively new because it's sort of a big blank sheet of paper. You're thinking, hey, is this a waste of time? Should I be going to work out? Should I be starting my day? But no, this is good to just one of the things I've learned is to speed up, we got to slow down. So I've tried to start slowing down a lot more, tried to have moments where I'm not thinking really, and just quiet reflection, introspection. I think that's what's needed as you get into your 30s and 40s to really make your next half of your life the best half of your life.
How do you carve all this white or the white space in your day?
Designing, I designed my life, and then I created, being a full-time cardiologist, there's no way to have created all this. And so, I created a successful real estate company that gave me excess time and excess income. And so then that gave me space. And then it's like, hey, this coaching and coaching others, but doing it on, high paying coaching clients, but doing it on my terms. That again, I'm becoming a sort of a lifestyle entrepreneur. And so then I was like, I want like Fridays off. I want mornings free so I can think and work out and just be. And then, so I'm sort of like a maker in the morning, if you will, and I'm a manager in the evening. So you may have heard of that term.
Yeah, it's Gary Keller, right?
Yeah.
I actually wrote that in my book in the.
Yeah, I love your book, by the way.
Around structure. Thank you.
Very few fitness people actually tell the truth, so it's good.
Appreciate that. Any final words for the listeners, Vikram?
No, man. It's really excited that whoever's on this journey to keep going. And if you haven't started the journey yet, get ready. It's a fun ride.
Awesome. Thanks so much for telling your story, Vikram.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people want to get a hold of me, I have my website launching soon, vikramraya.com. That's VIKRAMRAYA.com.
Awesome. Thanks.